Welcome to the Business Advisory Show. Natalie, Lennon, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, John. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you. Now, I've got some exciting stuff that you and I have been throwing around for a while, and we were keen to get you on the show and ask you a few questions about your experience thus far and your insights into a few hot topics that many of the accounting industry are either grappling with or working through as we speak. Yep. At this point in, on the landscape. So if we kick off with a couple of things here, can you share for our audience out there just a little about your own story? Who are you? Why are you in your own practice? And how long ago did that happen and why did it happen?
Sure. So Natalie Lennon, as you just introduced me, about 2 years ago, I decided to start my own practice, Two Sides Accounting. I've been a partner in a smaller firm with two other partners for a period of 6 years. And it just became evident that we're moving in different directions. You know, I'm young, I'm hungry, I want to do things differently. I want to use technology, and, you know, a lot of the older accountants just aren't really comfortable with that. Whilst they see it's great, they just don't want to move as quick as some of us younger ones. So, you know, I saw an opportunity to leave and go it alone. I've now got a team of 3, soon to be 4 or 5, so growing pretty rapidly. Built 100% in the cloud, so we don't have a server. We use things like Dropbox and Xero Tax to streamline and automate where we can, which, you know, makes us very efficient in terms of some of the manual processes that, you know, a lot of firms would be used to. Really passionate as well about helping clients achieve their why. So for me, part of the reason of starting my own firm as well was that I just wasn't happy anymore. I was questioning, do I really want to be an accountant? Am I really good at this? Do I want to do something else? And then when I decided, to really do something that I was really energized about and passionate about, it just changed my whole life. So I want to do that for my clients as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so, with your ideal client, do you have a definition of an ideal client at this point?
We do. And look, it has changed a little bit since we started. We sort of have 2 ideal clients. So one ideal client is the startups. And when I say startup, it's probably more towards the 1 to 2 year mark. And when I tell a lot of accountants this, they're like, you're mad. Startups have no money. What are you doing? And look, that's true. In the beginning, they don't have any money. But I think it's a lot more fulfilling to be on the journey with them. So a lot of our clients started their business around the same time. So we share similar pain points, we share similar issues in regards to growth, and we're just really on that journey together. And then we've got, you know, your more established businesses that have had a really old school accountant. They're still using paper and they want to automate and move into the cloud. So I work with them to just show them, you know, what's available in 2019.
Mm. Fantastic. Yeah. And little fishes are sweet, aren't they? Because a startup can evolve into a one-stop shop type of a profile client as well, a full package of services.
Yeah. Well, you know, you tell them what they need and they don't know anything else. So they just, you know, go with it. Whereas some of the clients who come from another accountant, sometimes it can be really hard to go, okay, this is what we do. This is what you should do. And they're like, well, really, I only see my accountant once a year. So why do I want to pay you all this money and see you regularly? And then you've got to have that discussion about the value.
Yeah. So tell me about tech. So I think that there's 2 real sides to this, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
But you've got the internal tech of running a practice in the cloud and some of the cool things you can do there from an automation point of view and a tech stack. And then there's the then taking that and adding value to the customer and giving them advice on those things as well. Yeah. Do you mind sharing a bit about both of those topics?
Yeah, sure. So I guess we can start with, you know, the internal tech. So we use Carbon, which is 100% in the cloud, and it gives us visibility over emails right across the business. So at any time I can click on a contact and see the email history. So it's not like, you know, I guess in most firms where you either have to go looking for it and it's saved in a certain spot, but you have to click through Carbon, you can actually see that email trail. So that's been revolutionary. We've had that from even when it was just me, day one. Practice Ignition. So we're moving to have 0 debtors for next financial year. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Using Xero Tax for digital signing. We also use Receipt Bank and HubDoc to automate the bookkeeping. We use Practice Protect, which protects all of our passwords and makes it a lot easier to be able to work in the cloud and not have to have, our passwords written down on a piece of paper. What else? Zoom. So we use Zoom for all of our, telephone video conferencing. And I guess in terms of that, we're then able to recommend to our clients what they should be using. So obviously, all the accounting things they can use, like Receipt Bank and HubDoc and Xero, but also things like Calendly. So for example, we use Calendly so clients can book meetings without having to call the office. And a few clients that we've got, lawyers and other professionals, they think that's great as well. So just educating them on how to use that. Things like MailChimp and how you can automate processes around that. So when a new client accepts their practitioner proposal, we then use Zapier to then add them onto our MailChimp list and they get a welcome email straight away. So we're always just, looking at the different tools we can use to automate.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now, is it on the paperless office? I mean, a lot of what you're doing actually delivers that. It delivers a paperless environment. How you mentioned you're basically totally cloud.
Yep.
So is there any paper other than a notepad on your desk? Is there anything else that you do actually have that officially would equate to paper in the office?
Oh, look, it's tax planning season. So I have started printing some bits and pieces for tax planning, and the team's like, who's printing? What? Like, we have just a small printer for when we need it, because I'm printing out things to give to the clients when they come in. Most of the time you'll see me with my iPad and my pen, so I try not to use paper where I possibly can, but there is a few little pieces of paper, but not like some of the firms I've seen where they print out all the work papers and they scan them all in and they say that's paperless. So we do all of our work papers, in the cloud, so we don't have to actually do any of that.
Fantastic. Yeah. And what about working with a remote team and not only working successfully with a remote team, but how important is technology to achieve that?
100%. You couldn't work with a remote team without, the tools that we use. You wouldn't be able to have that visibility. And then you'd be, you sort of hamstrung on the speed of the internet as well. Like if you're using a server, some sort of remote server, and you've got to upload and download, and then, speeds and things like that. Whereas we use Dropbox, so it's all just, it syncs and it keeps backup, so incremental backup. So it doesn't have to, every time you make a change, it doesn't have to update the whole thing. Yeah, but I think tools like, Carbon, Slack and Zoom, you definitely need those if you're going to work with a remote team.
Yeah. And hasn't Dropbox had a real resurgence over the last couple of years, from other portals coming along?
Yeah.
And as you say, the synchronized backups and stuff like that. So what about, you say you've got a goal of effectively no debtors in the following full financial year?
Yes.
What if that doesn't become something you achieve, what would be the one or two reasons why you wouldn't achieve that, do you think?
Look, we've still got a couple of clients that came across from the old firm, and so they're used to being billed a certain way. So obviously we have to have the discussions with those clients, and they have been a little bit hesitant to change along the journey. So they're probably the couple that wouldn't be on board with that. But any new clients coming on board will just say, look, this is the way we do it. You're either in or you're out, and you just have to be. We because we have been growing so quickly, we went through a period where we were invoicing and chasing the debtors, and it was just getting out of control. And it wasn't in line with the business model that I originally wanted, which everyone monthly fixed fee. But then you have ad hoc things that you need to bill for. So that was being done outside of practitioner, whereas now we've got a procedure where we're doing the proposals for every single ad hoc piece that comes in the office. And, the client has to sign it, and some of them actually pay up front, which actually shows commitment to then us starting the work. Yeah.
Yeah. And just on that growth, I understand it's been something like six-fold growth over 2 years.
Yes. Yeah. It's been a bit of a wild ride. The team are often like, make it stop. And I'm like, well, you can't really make it stop because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It could continue on, or it could, slow down. And I speak to a lot of other founders of new firms as well, and they often say that in the first couple of years is when you really get that growth, and then it can start to streamline a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess it's not just young accountants and business advisors. We've noticed that any business in any industry, when you've got a growth-based chapter of momentum in your business, the hardest thing is to say no, because despite the fact that you probably lose the battle of systemization through rapid growth to some extent and efficiency, at the same time, momentum is not an easy thing to maintain. So that's the other side, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you definitely have times where, I think because on our website you can book a free call, and so you fill in your information. I think on Friday we had 2 come in, and we came in on Monday and we've got 2 new client calls this week, and it's May, we've got too much on, but you've just got to manage it.
Absolutely. So tell me about preparing your business for your first employee. I mean, this is something that any startup, not just accounting, would probably benefit from, the benefit of hindsight, right?
Yep.
What was that like for you?
Look, I think coming from a previous firm, I had a bit of a blueprint of what to do, what worked well, what didn't work well, and what I wanted to do. So I started off really writing procedures for everything. And Carvin's really good as well because it's got checklists for everything. So you create a template, then you create a piece of work from the template. So everything from monthly bookkeeping to BASs to quarterly tax planning, it's all templated and checklisted. It does pose problems when we change the process we're changing it quite quickly because we're always refining it. So that's probably the hardest thing when you're having rapid growth. And then obviously, I set the procedure for what I thought it would look like with a team member. And then when that team member came, then they went, well, hang on, that doesn't really make sense. Let's do this first or this. And then we had the next team member. So we had to then rejig it there. So I think a lot of people say it's easier to start a firm than to change a firm. But I don't know if I agree with that anymore because I think it's very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great that you've got that hindsight now. Personally, I find it a lot easier to mentor or coach or work with accountants and their clients after the first 2 or 3 years because they are way more respectful of the challenges of running that business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you learn a bit too. So you learn what works, what doesn't work. So what worked or didn't work for my old firm will be totally different for my new firm. So you sort of work that out along the way as well.
Yeah. And so talk about setting up your business to scale. What have you done effectively? And looking back, what would you do differently? And perhaps are you now taking those insights forward in what you do now?
Yeah. So I think we touched on it before, which was the whole fixed fee direct debit thing. So when I first started, new clients, I was like, this is the procedure and you got to stick to it. And then a few big clients came along and they said, oh, we don't want to pay on direct debit. And I went, oh, okay. And then, a couple of those big clients were bad payers. So I was chasing them all the time and all the rest of it. So hindsight in regards to that is set your procedure and stick to it. It doesn't matter how big the client is. You've just got to stick to it. A couple of months ago, we actually, told him to find a new accountant because we were over it. Which was a really hard thing, to do when you're trying to scale your business and you're looking at the dollars. But, once we said goodbye to him, we had another couple come in the door and the team was happier as well. So the team doesn't want to be dealing with those things. I think, set up your procedures properly and stick to it. Packaging. So I think packaging of our products and services has really helped as well. Because, and they're all on our website, they're totally transparent. This is what we do for you. This is how much it's going to cost. This is the best practice of what we think you need to do to get, to reach your goals and get to where you want to be. And I think that's definitely helped because I think, as accountants, we just get the clients to come in and we let them tell us what they want, but they don't really know what they want. So I think we need to really, as, accountants go, this is what you need. And you're out, whereas I think we're a bit afraid to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's talk bookkeeping for a minute. So you are an accountant. Now, what's your view? Yes or no? Is bookkeeping part of growing an accountancy firm these days? And should it or not? And should it be integrated as part of your branded offering or externally? What are your views on those things?
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about this. So for me, bookkeeping was part of the key to our rapid growth. A lot of the clients that came in originally wanted a bookkeeper, and then when we told them we do accounting and tax, they went, great, we'll get you to do everything. Some other little clients who, need that bookkeeping, and accountants just don't offer it. So I think, it's definitely an untapped source for all the accountants. I think it depends on the size of the client as well. Like we've seen some of the bigger clients that have needed bookkeeping, we've in the end said, look, you need a bookkeeper because we just don't have the capacity. But the smaller clients who only need, a couple of hours bookkeeping a month, the bookkeepers don't want to touch it because it's not really earning them, much money. Whereas if we do it, we know we can do it efficiently and quickly. And then we know at the end of the year, most of the work's been done. So it's a very smooth process. Yeah.
Fantastic. So one final question I've got for you. We have a big event coming up at Accountants Big Day Out 2019, and you are this year congratulations, you're on the speaker panel, which is fantastic.
Thank you. Looking forward to joining you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we are not going to give away all your secrets right now, but in terms of, and of course, people will have to go to that event to hear more about this, but have you got a few hints around if you open up at Accountants Big Day Out about what motivates you and what you think are some of the secret ingredients to your success and your mindset, your attitude, and your self-belief and so forth? Backing yourself to achieve greater success. What might be some of the things that you're going to share in terms of topics or insights?
Well, I think a couple of the topics that we've already discussed on, so talking about, accounting tech, paperless office, automation, keys to packaging your goods and services, and just setting up your business for success and being positive. I think, positive thinking is very powerful. And that's something that, I've learned over the last couple of years along my own personal journey.
Yeah, fantastic. And so this is Natalie Lennon. She will be available at Accountants Big Day Out as well to share, and we do some fantastic breakout work at that event. Is there anything else I should be asking you or that you would like to share about your journey so far and your insights as a business advisor?
I think everybody will just have to come to the event, John.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Business Advisory Show. And we look forward to seeing you at ABDO 2019 from the 2nd of July.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to seeing you all.